Hey everybody, I'm Ben Yee.
I'm Elissa Stein, and we're here to talk about the most exciting news that I have read this week that came in Ben Yee's epic email. And if you're not on his email list, you should be on his email list.
Is it that Michael Flynn flipped?
No.
Oh, it's not? No.
It's that Ben Yee is running for public advocate.
That is exciting.
So let's just talk
to
about
me.
that. It's
Okay.
exciting to me. It's exciting to it's exciting to a lot of people. I
That's
will
flattering.
quickly, in my self-serving way, say that after the 2016 election, when I went to my first Democratic Club meeting, I saw Ben Yee speak, and you gave me hope, and you knew so much. And my friend Sarah Kimball and I said, whatever Ben Yee says to do, we're going to do, because we learned so much.
How's that worked out?
I'm much busier. But I ran for county committee. I was elected secretary. I joined a local club. I'm on the executive board of a local club. I'm thinking about running for something else. I've been far more involved than I used to be. I've learned how important it is to do your civic duty, and that came from going to your lectures. And so many have benefited from the stuff that you know and have shared. And so the thought that you could be elected to a bigger public office is thrilling and kind of necessary.
That's very kind of you to say. It's essentially that model which I want to take to the public advocate's office and make available to the entire city.
Okay, so public advocate we've talked about before,
Yeah.
and that it's more of a figurehead position with some money, but they don't have a vote. They it's showing up at.
They have a
meetings
few
and
appointments to a couple of boards, and they have the power to introduce legislation and hold hearings, but they don't have any real administrative power, legislative power, or executive power. They just have their own budget, and then whoever's in that office has to come up with a way to use it that will actually help people. And one could argue how successful previous public advocates have been, but for the most part, it's been an office where people have simply done their most to be loud about issues and focus the
Right.
spotlight on the things they're saying.
Okay, Ben Yee, then
Yeah.
why do you want to do this?
Well, as you mentioned, the last 2 years for 10 years I've been civically involved, and the last 2 years in particular I've been doing this civics education and empowerment component in a very real way. And so I think this is an incredible opportunity to use government resources to actually engage people in the government and to break down barriers. The number one thing that prevents communities from having a voice, and the number one complaint I hear is that communities have no voice, but the thing that prevents that is accessing political power, accessing government resources, accessing the resources and bureaucracy of our city is incredibly difficult.
Right.
And by breaking this down, we've seen just in the last 2 years these sort of amazing things that can come out of it. So we've seen county committee fights in Brooklyn that have almost overthrown the county machine there, and that county machine is responsible for, and you can go watch the live stream I did at their last meeting, responsible for appointing dozens of judges, appointing elected officials when there are vacancies. I mean, these are all done not through appointment per se, but through the selection of Democratic nominees, but they're effectively appointments.
Right.
And so opening up these processes improves our governance and changes the way that communities interact with political leaders, and then impacts how those political leaders make their decisions. So I have 4 programs, starting with expanding the civics education piece, and then, I could go into all 4 of them, but it would take 5 more minutes. So I have 4 programs. There are 2 prongs. One is breaking down these barriers through making government accessible through a one point of contact, which is the public advocate's office. And the other half is using the resources of the public advocate's office as a platform for the thousands of other advocates already engaged in advocating for their communities and building power for residents of New York so they can get things that they need from our city.
Got it. So if I get it right, it's getting more people engaged and getting better resources and support for the people who already are engaged and making sure that they're more effective in what they're trying to do.
That's absolutely right. So as I mentioned, I'm losing my voice because I
You're
get to
welcome.
speak
That was
so
actually
many
really
times.
good.
That was a great encapsulation. I'm going to have to use that on the stump.
You're welcome.
But when I say, when you say that the public advocate doesn't have any administrative power or executive power or budgetary power or really legislative power, then you're left with one thing, which is political power. And
Right.
political power comes down to electoral power. And that means being able to convince elected officials that what you're doing is going to change how people vote and who they vote
Yeah,
for.
political power is a really significant power in the city. I've learned.
It's a democracy. It's like the root of all power in the city.
Absolutely. So yet again, we're going to ask you to vote.
Vote.
The vote is going to be.
Nobody knows. The
Nobody knows
election
what's
won't
gonna
be called until
It was
Tish
like 40
James is
days.
actually out.
45 days after she's.
No,
sworn
no.
in.
The mayor has 45. The mayor has 3 days to announce the date after January 1st.
Right.
And then it has to be at least 45 days
after.
away.
Okay.
But it could be longer. We don't know.
Okay, so we're going to keep talking to Ben about his ideas because he would be an amazing public advocate. He knows so much about how the system works and really making sure that people are engaged and involved. You know, certainly I've become far more of that because of you, and so is Oliver, our cameraman. But you know, being involved and making a difference and being heard is how change happens. And so Ben
Definitely.
Yee for public advocate.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see you next time.
Laters.